Hi and welcome to this video. Now, neurons are obviously incredibly important in the brain, and I've talked about them in a previous video. But what you might not know is that they're not the only kind of cell that makes up our brain. There are also a range of other cells known collectively as glial cells. And glial translates from the ancient Greek as glue. And the reason for this name is that originally we thought that these cells were basically there to hold together the neurons and maybe provide them with a little bit of support. But we now know that actually they have much more important roles than that, and our brain just couldn't function without them. Now, the type of glial cell that I want to talk about today is called an oligodendrocyte. And what these do is they coat the axon of the neuron in this kind of fatty layer known as myelin. And this works to insulate the neuron, kind of similar to the way a plastic coating insulates an electrical wire. This helps the neuron pass its electrical messages along its axon more efficiently. This myelin is what's known as white matter in the brain, and it's really important for the brain to function efficiently. The myelination process is one of the last processes to finish in the developing brain, with some areas, including your frontal lobe right at the front here, that controls reason and decision making, might not fully myelinate until the mid-20s, which might explain some of the kind of traditional teenage behaviours that we see. The white coating, the myelin, is also one of the first things that starts deteriorating as ageing begins, and it can drop off much more dramatically than the grey matter, the neurons themselves. And again, we think this might link to why with age thought processes tend to slow down a little bit, and it might also link into some of the forgetfulness that is often seen with old age. There are also diseases which affect these oligodendrocytes, and that tells us a little bit more about what they do. People who have these kinds of diseases experience problems across a whole range of different cognitive areas, from memory to emotional regulation. Probably one of the best known diseases that affects white matter is MS, or multiple sclerosis. And this is a disease where the body starts attacking the white matter cells and breaking them down. And this can lead to different symptoms depending where in the brain this attack has happened. Common symptoms include clumsiness, weakness, and tremors. But there is some good news. These cells can regenerate in the brain, so symptoms aren't always permanent in MS, and it can take this sort of relapsing and remitting path where bits of the brain have their oligodendrocytes broken down, they build them back up again, and then another part of the brain is attacked. Sadly, the replenishment process isn't perfect, so sometimes symptoms do remain, and unfortunately there aren't any cures for MS at the moment. It's a case of managing the symptoms. There's still so much to be discovered about the causes of white matter diseases and how better to treat them. And the only way this is going to happen is through more basic research on the vital roles that the glial cells provide in keeping our brain functioning. And I think it would be nice if there was a bit more focus on these support cells, rather than just their more glamorous cousins, the neurons. Coming up, I'll be talking to you about other glial cells, including the star-shaped astrocytes, as well as other areas of psychology and neuroscience that grab my attention. So do hit like and subscribe if you'd like to be alerted when my next video comes out. Thanks so much for listening.